Hey, welcome back. All right, so we're going to continue on making our player better, and we're going to start adding in the boost function for our players so that we can, while moving around in the world, we can hit the little boost button, get a little bit of boost for a few seconds, and then it'll stop. And we're going to add that to our player HUD so that we can get some graphical representation of the boost, how much time we have before it goes away, and then how much time it's going to take for it to refill. But we first need to do a little bit of housekeeping again and kind of clean up our player blueprint some. There's some changes that I've made offline that I want to incorporate in the player real quick and just kind of show you how the player blueprint works in general, especially when we just have it dropped in the world like we do right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. All right, so right here is my player, and right now it is just placed in the world. It does not... So over here, when we did place in the world, it doesn't spawn in the world right now. We place it in the world, and when we hit play, we actually take possession of it, and we play this exact player that's here right now. It is not spawning in the world at the start point right here. If I hit play, we have that sphere that shows up here. That was the first-person kind of player thing. It wasn't really a first-person. It's a kind of a player pawn type thing. But anyway, at some point, we're going to incorporate that. But while we're building our player and testing our player, there's some things that this gives us an advantage for by leaving it like this. And I want to point those out. Earlier I mentioned that when we were in our player blueprint, and here on the left-hand side, when we open up these eyes and make it so that we can modify them, so the little eye, that means we can modify them outside of the blueprint for some of these variables that we have in here, like jump height and things like that. Those are actually on our player. So when we click on our player here at the top, we'll see under default all those things that are adjustable in the world show up right here. So if we open the eye up, it should be over here. So acceleration multiplier is something that we opened up, and we have it set to 40 right here. Same with dampening and these other ones right here. But with our player placed in the world like we have right now, we can also come over here and we can modify those float variables pretty easily because they fall up right here at the top under default. We're going to clean these up a little bit though, because right now everything's under default, and it's eventually going to get pretty busy over here where we have all of these variables. So one of the things that we can do and that we need to do is that we're going to need to kind of put them in categories. So for example, acceleration multiplier, if I click on this variable over here, there's a category called default, and that's what we're seeing back here is default, right? So this is default. So I go back in here and I change default, and since acceleration multiplier has to do with movement, I'm going to go ahead and give that the name movement. And what that does is over here now it has made acceleration multiplier in the category movement, and if I compile it, save it, and I take a look in the sandbox where my player is placed in the world here, now we have a category called movement, and there's the acceleration multiplier underneath it. It moved it out of default. So we know that if we want to change something to doing with movement, this is where it would be. Let's go ahead and jump back into our player here. And for dampening, dampening also has to do with movement. It has to do with forward movement and stopping and things like that. So if I go to dampening right here, so if I click on dampening, hit the down arrow, we should actually have the category movement added in here. That's right. We don't have to copy and paste anything. It's already there. So we can easily move this into dampening. So now we have, or movement rather, dampening into that location right there. Stopping factor. Stopping factor is also something to do with movement. So we're going to change this to movement and move it out of that category. We're going to compile and save just to make sure everything's moving over. So jump. This is, we're going to make a category for this one called jump. Okay, so we're going to do that, and then jump height, same thing. So now they're both in that category. And the other thing about these variables, if you notice, is they kind of pop in here in the order that we created them. So they're not even in alphabetical order. They're not in alpha order. They're kind of just in here. So by doing it, putting them into categories will help us find it easier as well. So health. So we're going to put is dead, health, and max health into its own category. We're going to leave HUD alone for right now. Don't really know what else we're going to do with it at this point in time, but so I'm going to click on dead. I'm going to change this to health. So is dead is now in health. We're going to move health to health. And also max health to health. And if we don't put it in a category, it stays out here like the HUD is staying in, and it will be in the default location. So when we take a look back at our player, we now have default with just the HUD in it. We have a movement category, a jump category, a health category. We're going to add a few more. The other thing I want to kind of change in here is our stopping factor here. Back when I first set this up, I did not connect these into here because I just hardwired them in here for our testing. I never really came back and addressed this, but we have everything set up the way we want to now. So what we can do is take this output right here, and we can just stick that in right there. And we can do the same thing for this one. And we can compile it and save it. And basically, how do we know that it's working? Okay, so a couple of things we're going to do real quick to test it. We're going to put it in our print string. Remember, we used our print string in one of the last tutorials. So if I right click, all right, so again, print string. We're going to pull up print string. And last time we didn't do much other than just, if I remember, I think we just put a word in here. We can also connect up variables to it and get a feedback of what's happening. There's a lot you can do with the print string, and it'll automatically make those conversions for us. So if we just connect it there, it'll convert it to a string from a number. So if we hover over this, it converts a double value to a string. So we can read what it is. And that's going to tell us what, when we're holding the movement key, so when we're holding either the W or the S, we should get some feedback from what this amount is from the dampening. So we should be able to see what our dampening is while we're moving. So down here in our stop factor, how do we know, right? So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead, and I'm just going to click on that, Control D a couple times so I don't have to type it in there. And I'm just going to go ahead and plug that in there. I'm going to grab this dampening, plug it in there. Just grab this, kind of stick it down here. I'm going to do the same thing with this one here. Okay. And we can come back and we're going to delete those in a minute, but we just kind of want to make sure that everything's working the way it's designed to work. So if I go back into the sandbox, I hit play, I click in the scene. If I hit W, you'll see on the left-hand side, I get, as long as I'm holding W, I'll get 0.5. That's what our dampening value is. That's what our base value is. I haven't touched anything else yet, right? Okay, so now when I let go, I slow down, everything goes away. So if I hit S, I get the same thing. I get 0.5 again. All right, so now if I'm moving along and I hit Tab, I should stop, and I should see that 5.5 is the amount I'm getting. If I hit the W again, I should see it again, and I should get 0.5. And then if I hold it down, I get 0.5. I let go, it should go back to 0.5. And then if I move forward, it goes to 0.5. And it's working exactly the way it's supposed to. We're getting the dampening value that we want. All right, moved all the way over here. So let me go back to my player. Okay, so right now, like I said, we have our player here in the world, and we have now created some categories over here for movement. So our acceleration multiplier, our dampening, our jump vector, and our jump height. As you play around with your character, these are the numbers that I'm using, and I'm happy with the gameplay for it. But if you want to play with it and make some adjustments, you want your player maybe to jump a little higher, you want maybe it to go a little faster, so you want to change your dampening amount. And when we do the boost, we're also going to have a boost one over here, so we'll add that in, and you may want to change it. You don't necessarily have to go from here back to your player blueprint to change it. Once you make a change here, if you go up to this little symbol up here on your BP player, so if you got your player selected, right up here, this is for your blueprints. You hit the little down arrow, and you can apply instance changes. So this is an instance. You can apply these instance changes to the blueprint, so it'll automatically go back in and change it. If you've changed some things on your blueprint and you haven't applied it yet, and you want to reset it back to its regular values, you can go right here and hit the reset instance changes, and it'll change all of these things that you've changed down here back to the default values that you have them set in your blueprint. Okay, but once you change them in your blueprint, it's going to change them. Okay, so let's go ahead and we can delete these print strings. We don't need them now that we can verify that everything's working. Okay, so those are all deleted. We've made this change down here so that we have our floats working the way we want to, and we've adjusted all of our values over here, all of our variables. And again, only the ones that we had the eyes open are the ones that are showing up. If you wanted to be able to adjust what your health or your max health is, you can open those eyes up. So for example, if I wanted to change my stopping, you know what, we'll do health. If I want to change what my health value is, I hit the eye, I compile it. Okay, it's already here, but if I go back into my player, into the world here, now it'll show up here. See, there's health showing up right there. So as long as we have the player in the world set up like this, and we can just place it in the world, we can come in here and we can make these changes. So leaving it this way for a little while is what I'm going to do to make it easier for you to be able to do your development stuff and decide what you want it to be set at. Again, these are my default ones. These are the ones I've created with the game I've designed. But at some point, we are going to make it so that our player spawns in the world when we hit play. So we'll use this start position here to spawn our player into this level. Once we do that, the only way to make these changes on the player, because it won't be in the world at any time, will be either on your player blueprint, or once you hit play and you hit F8, then you eject out of your player, then you can select your player and you can make some modifications while it's in the world. Once you're happy with those, this is where you would need to go in and apply those instances, or remember what they were and come back into your player blueprint and change them here physically. That's it for this tutorial. It's just a real quick cleaning some things up, getting our variables a little bit more organized to prepare us to get ready to start adding several more variables in for our boost and changing some things around so it's easier to grab them. All right, again, like the video. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time, and thanks for playing.